effects of fire. But you have more on that?
Yeah, I think one of the things that we learned, aside from wind-driven fires being extremely hard to stop, is how we can train our department to be prepared for fast-moving fires in a wildland-urban interface area like that, where you have houses butted up against wildland, and how we can prep and defend those houses to try to prevent a large loss of structures like we saw in California. Um, they had, obviously the severe winds. There's not a whole lot they can do with as strong as those winds, but being able to see that kind of environment and knowing that, there's some things that we can come back and kind of train our department on what we can do to hopefully prevent something like that from ever happening in our communities.
Fire Specialist Myers, you talked in our conversation about the collaboration with, obviously Morgan's Point, Killeen, Poto, Austin. So what does that mean to you to be able to have all these Texas entities coming together to fight this tragedy, and also the collaboration that you had with entities out in California, talking about Oregon and some of the other entities that y'all met out there?
Yeah, so I think one of the great things about the fire service in general is that even though we have different techniques and we have different ways that we train based on our service areas, we're also very adaptable. And we kind of feed off of other departments and learning their techniques and skills that they can teach us that might be able to help us out in our own service areas. So to be able to work with Killeen, that's obviously a much bigger city than Morgan's Point. The way they operate is different than us, but there are a lot of techniques that I brought back to Morgan's Point that we're going to try and implement. And then, as they said before, it's a completely different terrain. It's a whole different animal that you have to try and tackle out there. We do have a lot of wildland-urban interface in Morgan's Point. We have a lot of green areas that butt up to new developments. So I think that talking with some of the Cal Fire and the crews from Utah and Oregon just brings in even more experience that you can bring back.
Considering the difference in terrain and area and residential, happenings, what are some of these techniques that you can take that you learned out there that you can bring back to Central Texas?
I would say the biggest thing is actually public education on how to prepare your own house in these kind of situations. Being able to kind of do a structured triage of your own facilities and your own houses in your neighborhoods, and letting the public know things they can do if they do have to evacuate, that can help kind of possibly save their house.
Can you guys tell us what you did there? I mean, did you guys see some action firefighting, or did you just do mostly support?
We did some like fire activities. We were patrolling, which would say like the hotlines, like where fire had passed. By the time we had arrived, it was at least 7 days after the incident had started. There was still active fire, but there was still spots where neighborhoods unburned, that were lucky where fire had passed over, but they had to make sure that no small ember was going to get left behind. And when we'd go a couple days without wind, all it would take is that one next day when the wind picked up for it to start off again. And they did have some small starts here and there, but they were all contained quickly. And then they had some other new fire start after we had arrived. But we did do a lot of patrolling fire lines and mopping up hot spots. And just, like I said, the patrolling was the more important thing, to make sure that no new starts or no hot spots were missed.
How would you describe the scene when you guys arrived to those fires and just the destruction?
It was hard to take in. It's devastating to see complete, I don't want to say just neighborhoods. I mean, seeing blocks of homes, businesses that were just gone. I mean, what's left is just a pile of rubble. It's different to see, because when we're here, we might see one or two structures that are involved. It was different to see that much. I think it was over 7,000 buildings that were damaged, mostly destroyed during this event, and that was just for the Palisades fire. And it was a lot to take in. Yep. Anything?
Did you guys come across any issues while out there at all? So, no, not really. We didn't have any issues logistically and operationally. The California Cal Fire service is very sound. From our check-in process to our demobilization process, it was seamless. We had no issues. Like on our check-ins, we checked in to get our vehicles inspection, which is standard. Those happened within 15 minutes. They were doing 3 trucks at a time, and our demobilization process was of similar accord. The logistical side, they've got it well facilitated. Like you said, 6,000 firefighters, and getting in and out, and lots of police, fire support staff, and it was seamless.
Is there a moment that sticks out to you all specifically, whether that's shocking or heartwarming?
Shocking, I have a good moment when we first arrived in the general area of the Palisades fire, and we were starting the check-in process on our first work day. We were driving down Pacific Coast Highway, or PCH as it's called, and the house is on the coast and the business is on the coast. They're just completely demolished, like Captain Weiss was saying. All that was left was iron and collapsed sheetrock and ceiling, roofing tiles and things of that nature. Just streets and streets of destruction.
Captain, we talked a little bit about, obviously, going with Jasmine's question, like some of the destruction that y'all seen. You all are trained to respond quickly to high-intense situations, keep y'all's composure. Was there a moment out there with the level of destruction that y'all described, that y'all had to check yourselves in terms of, emotions, or making sure that you weren't making yourself the priority in terms of overwhelming emotions?
No, sir, not for me personally. We felt like we had a good support system. At least I felt like I had a good support system with we had a STEN, and we had other firefighters from Texas in our strike team. So we felt like we had a strong network. There was, of course, a lot of devastation to see, and that, did provoke an emotional response, but I always felt supported and, cared for.
Talk about that support, not only between Colleen and Morgan's Point, but also just from help all across the country, other countries even coming in to help. What did that mean to you guys to have that?
It was exceptional to see all the support. We had people, like you said, from other countries working there, all united around one purpose. We had, at the beginning of each work or operational period, we would have a briefing, and there would be hundreds of people there, all intent and focused on the goal of mitigating any fire hazards that were present at the Palisades incident. You guys got anything else?
If I could, everyone's response. In such a high intense situation, such a natural tragedy type of situation, y'all have been boots on ground in the thick of it for 2 weeks before coming back on the 27th. So what is the assimilation process back to normal life, quote unquote, not having that intensity day to day?
Well, I can only speak to me personally. We got home and we were greeted by a myriad of Colleen representatives and fire department employees and stuff, and the media was there, so they were happy to see us. They welcomed us home jubilantly, and then we get all of our stuff ready and prepped to get our vehicles and equipment back in service, and we leave the station. And then once you leave the station, it's like a switch, at least for me, that it turns, and I was still well for the last 3 weeks, and now I'm just Marcus, off the clock and getting ready to go home to see my family.
Yeah, I think that the transition getting back to normalcy was pretty quick. I mean, we had a lot of help, once we returned with getting our gear demobilized off the truck and ready to go. And for me personally, it was almost instantly. As soon as I left the station, I went home and then went to my kids' soccer practice. So getting back to being dad was it was nice, going from being a firefighter, working, one of the most costly, devastating incidents in U.S. history, to just being another dad in the city of Killeen. Was a pretty quick transition, but nothing I wouldn't give up.
It's the same, just that sigh of relief, I guess, once we finally got the equipment back in service and starting to head home. It was that sigh of relief, get home, and then to see the kids, the wife, and be back at the normalcy of your own life. It was good.
Pretty much the same thing they've already said. I think one of the first things that you learn coming into fire and EMS is how to go from work mode to home mode fairly quickly. So getting back into home mode was nice. Getting to sleep in your own bed was probably the best part. And then just kind of rolling back in and getting things back into your normal routine.
Fire Specialist Myers, when you talked about your part of being a first responder as well, kind of taking a macro step back, obviously the level of devastation and tragedy that y'all saw, how does this kind of reinforce, why y'all do what y'all do and that passion that y'all have for serving others?
Ooh, I think that's a very individual thing, so I'm only going to speak for myself. I had a very big draw to serve. That's why I decided to come into the fire and EMS kind of profession. I am very, very blessed to have a wife who is also a part of the first responder community and also has that call to serve as well. Definitely makes things a little bit easier when you come to being deployed for 2 weeks, and also for somebody that you can talk to that understands that on-off switch that you need to have. So.
It's different. I mean, I don't have a first responder wife, but she understands the part that there is a cool off time when you get back. I mean, from a bad shift at just normal work, but especially this. But this, we had a 2-day ride home where we had time to let most of it go and start to turn back to ourselves. So it made it easier to turn back to our normalization once we left, I guess you can say work, left here once we were finally demobilized.
My wife's not a first responder. She used to be a dispatcher, a 911 dispatcher, and before that she was in the military, so she understands the public service aspect of my job, as well as the need to decompress when needed, and she knows that when I'm ready to talk, I'm going to talk, and she's there to listen, and she's always done a great job of just giving me my time and my space whenever I need it, and I think that's important for any spouse of public safety to know.
I think I can speak for everyone when I say that without the emotional support and logistical support of our spouses, none of this would be possible for us to deploy as a team and be gone for 2.5 weeks. I know all of our wives are kind of in the same boat, taking care of kids, going to work full time, and juggling all of those things. And, I can't say enough about our wives and my wife specifically for caring for everything while we were gone and still having time to check in with us, even with the time changes, and being there for us emotionally. So shout out to our wives.
Anybody else have questions?
Last one for me. You talked about Fire Specialist Myers. You talked about the strategies that you take back and the things that you learn from the deployment. What is the balance of holding on to this experience, remembering obviously being honored by being selected for this, but also not retaining some of the large-scale devastation or trauma that y'all might have been subjected to?
It's a fine line, and I think that there's always a part of it that you do carry with you. That is also just part of being in public service and being a first responder. There are going to be things that you're always going to kind of carry with you in terms of the devastation that you see. The biggest thing is for me personally, is to turn it back into something good. So if what I saw there, I can apply to Morgan's Point and I can keep that from happening in Morgan's Point, then to me it's worth it.
To the same as what she said, I mean, we can bring things we've seen where changes could have been made or they were in place and that saved a structure. We still have all the outskirts of town or pockets of town where you have the urban interface, and things that people can take into account and do around their house to help keep a wildfire. Now, it's not going to 100% stop it, but things that can help prevent the house catching on fire. But those are things that we can bring back to our community and help.
Yeah, I think one of the best ways for me personally, to kind of combat the devastation that we saw is to also think about the love and support and gratitude we saw while we were there. From the minute we left out of Austin, heading towards California, and the entire time we were in California, daily, constantly, we were getting waves and thank yous and support from the citizens in LA and the surrounding areas, and even on the drive up there, people waving, honking, saying thank you. And I think being able to also remember the good that we saw in that, the thankfulness helps kind of offset the devastation and the terrible, destruction that we saw. I think that's for me is the best way to kind of balance things out.
I share a similar sentiment, just like Kat Myers said, like turning this into a positive experience. For me personally, seeing that level of devastation and knowing that my house is at home safe and my family's safe, like it gives me a deep sense of gratitude for everything that God has given me. Additionally, like Captain Poston said, like seeing the coordination and the love and the outpour from the residents of Los Angeles and Southern California, in addition to the firefighters, we're going on their turf. We're going in to do their jobs, and they opened up a spot for us, and there was never any resentment, and the coordination and the support was there. So just working towards the common goal and doing it as a unified team was exceptional to see.
Chief Chisholm, Art, and Wanda, can you just address the fact that there are mental health services for the firefighters that are shared between the firefighters and the police department?
Absolutely. It's relatively new in the fire service, but we do actually have a peer support team for any personnel. It's an extremely stressful job, day in and day out. They're well versed in the stresses, so it's something they deal with. But we do have those in place. We have a physician 24/7 if needed to deal with those stresses.
One more thing. And just to talk about how the logistics part of California, during this event, they had peer support set up for all the first responders that were there. At each of the base camps, they had teams ready for anybody that needed the help. And to have that set up that quickly, it was amazing to see that, those are things you don't usually see up front in an incident like that. Those are usually things that are happening afterwards. So that was awesome to see.
All right. Thank you to our firefighters. Thank you to the media. If you have no more questions, we will conclude here. The full video will be on our YouTube channel by the end of business today. So if you have any further questions, let us know. Chief Chisholm is not going to be available for interviews afterwards. I know a couple of you asked me to have some interviews afterwards, but he does need to keep it moving. So apologies for that. All right.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you guys.
Thank you for your service.
Okay.